Okay, it is October 28th, Monday. I'm out in Thousand Oaks and ready to talk about some of my life. You might see me taking pictures while I'm driving. That's because I'm sure most of the world knows there's lots of people worldwide, everywhere I go, working on me, trying to send me reference messages to create what appears to be ideas of reference, which is a type of schizophrenia, which basically what it is when you see things and you think that the messages apply to you. For example, I don't know, if you go home and you see a Toyota Camry and you're holding a Camry, you might think there's something with that Camry and my camera, which is a type of like paranoid schizophrenia or schizophrenia by references. The only problem is that I don't suffer from any mental illness. I have worldwide groups actually and intentionally sending me hidden messages all day and night to try to create the appearance of ideas of references. So, for example, for 17 years, all day and night, 24/7, if I walk outside of my house or come home, I will see pairs of cars in twos, and not just one pair. I might see up to 20 pairs within 100 yards. For example, 2 blue Civics parked one in front of the other, 2 black Mercedes parked one in front of the other, 2 red Toyota Sentras or Nissan Sentras parked together, and I might come out of my house an hour later, and where the 2 red Civics were, there might be 2 blue Civics. Or I have 2 of the neighbors, one has a red Ford Focus, the other has a blue Ford Focus, and they move around the local location always together, showing that it's not a coincidence. What happens is, wherever I go worldwide, this happens. So, I live in Woodland Hills. I'm in Thousand Oaks right now. And so what'll happen is, let's say I go to a Starbucks or even a restaurant. If on the very rare occasion everything is normal, for example, the entire parking lot at Starbucks is parked forward, how people normally park, within minutes you will see everything change, and people start to, some of them run out of Starbucks and turn their car around backwards, or the newer people that show up will see my car or see me, whether I'm wearing my clothing with Kevin Pearlman Target or I'm not. And now I have signs on my car that says Kevin Pearlman Target. But before I ever had any of that, cards, signs, a website, the same exact thing was occurring, meaning that everywhere I go worldwide, people know me, pretend they don't know me, and try to send hidden messages. For example, if I go into a Starbucks, anyone in the world, or any coffee shop in the world, you will see people, they'll see me walk in and they'll put one foot up on a chair, and this will happen at endless locations worldwide where I have endless pictures of, because they refuse to stop. And of course, it's always, you're harassing people by taking pictures, or you're harassing people by taking pictures of their cars, leaving out the big picture and the full story. So back to my point, the point is that I end up taking a lot of pictures wherever I go, which I really don't want to have to do, to take pictures of annoying stalking groups who refuse to leave me alone, to prove that there's mass stalking groups, and that I am not crazy or suffer from any type of mental illness, showing these mass government operations, you know. So basically, you'll probably see me take some pictures while I'm talking, whatever. I even have video of some lady in Santa Monica demanding that I don't take pictures of people, which is a common thing. Mike Wexler, a friend of my brother's at University of Colorado, sent after me after taking a film photography class in 1995 with some thugging tactic. Let's do a road trip, but you're not allowed to take pictures of people because for some strange reason they don't want me having pictures of people, which then escalates into cars and other types of things, making me mentally ill. But the real reason is that because the crime is global, they don't want any proof of the crime. And that is the only reason, is they do not want any actual documentation proving that I am the victim and that I am being hunted, and that at 29 years old, my life did a 180, met with these death threats, and people sent after me, about like Rody Morales and Aubrey Fisher working with the LAPD to try to get murder confessions, or I guess I should say flip me out and get coerced false confessions. Any type of confession really, but Rody's was about murder confessions and stalking women. Aubrey Fisher was trying to get confessions about pedophilia, which then turned into I'm a troll because I tapped my foot by her, with worldwide support to kill me over. Then trying to pretend that I'm competing with her and stopping her and running her out of the photography community when she kept calling me up asking me to help her with her photo shoots. So you can see the pattern of behavior of me being the nicest person known to man. People, especially women, calling me up asking me to come over or to help them out with things, and then they turn it around that I'm a stalker who won't leave them alone. When I find out what's going on, there's always worldwide backlash to remove me from society, that I've done all these horrible things to each and every one of these people. Even people like Corey Bixby at 16 years old, who asked me to drive her home in high school and gets mad for no reason like usual, and for some reason starts telling me telling the world that I did something to her. Turns out I find out at something like 40 years old that it's all because I supposedly pushed on the gas pedal a little too hard of a Trans Am that I changed engines and souped up, demanding complete and utter perfection. And that's not something that anyone would remotely care about, nor would worldwide groups say, well, we're going to hunt you down because you harassed this girl by pushing on your gas pedal a little too much on the way home. It's like demanding some kind of perfect taxi service for a girl you thought showed some interest in you, right? But anyways, you get the idea. So today, I'm trying to think about what topic I want to talk about, and yeah, obviously there's so much, and it's also interlinked with what's going on in these mass attacks. Like right now I'm looking at some guy in a green Kia waiting for me at a Starbucks, you know, a lot of times they're just random people being people, but I'm pretty good at spotting who's who and what's going on. For example, if I drive into a parking lot that normally the parking lot is forward, which is how parking lots used to be before 2011, which is 90% of the cars forward. If I drive into a parking lot, especially by a coffee shop, you will notice the people's behavior patterns. I won't say people's behaviors, but their patterns of behaviors in mass groups changed after 2011, because one time I parked backwards in an Encino Starbucks parking lot, and yes, the entire planet globally was told to mimic Kevin Perlman in retaliation for imperfection. Okay, well, that's pretty damn strange, but it's going on. And so, for example, if I drive into a lot of parking lots, especially with coffee shops, because they know that I love drinking coffee, hanging out at coffee shops, being friendly, getting work done, the same thing everyone else does at coffee shops, they have a problem with me doing that, which then obviously jumps to eating food at restaurants or going to supermarkets to buy food, showing that it's not just about coffee shops, but it's about complete and utter annihilation, with worldwide support against one man, something completely unheard of, unprecedented in history. How this even happened, I have no clue, because there doesn't seem to really be much middle ground. Normally in situations like this, people say this is unacceptable. In my situation, people just say, well, we're either going to hunt down and kill this guy with worldwide support, or maybe the neutrals do absolutely nothing and still say I don't know you, which is strange, showing that it's just a complete global extermination campaign and nobody really is standing up for me in a normal way like people normally do, publicly speaking out. This is unacceptable. This guy is being hunted. It doesn't matter what you accuse him of. He has constitutional rights and protections, and if he really did something, you would arrest him for it. But you can't arrest him because there's nothing he's done. And so why is there worldwide terror operations and neighborhood watch groups over no reason? There's no crime. And so someone going around saying, well, he's a troll or he hates women, and has a pedestal to the world to make up these lies, it's blatantly obvious that that's the criminal. Anyways, so what am I going to talk about? Well, let's see. I want to talk about my past. I'm a little tired today, so hopefully I don't wind down. I'm thinking, while this literally starts at around 5 years old, I think I want to trying to decide if I just want to blurt out thoughts or start chronologically, just to kind of give a progression so people understand how things escalated and progressed from a demented family, with these demented control tactics based on labeling me with anxiety issues and nervous issues and psychological labels that keep changing from one to the next each day of my life to try to get the people to help them in mass groups. But I think what I'm going to do is, because this starts at such a young age and it's harder to prove and it looks like I'm digging even though I'm not, I think what I want to do is start around 8th grade. I kind of mentioned the black girl thing in my last video at Sunny Skies Day Camp, where I kissed the black girl. They had Devo play Whip It Good. The teacher cracked an egg which a bloody embryo or bloody chicken came out while cooking something. After that, me being labeled someone who hates black people because I kissed a black girl around that same time. And like, for example, I'm taking pictures of 2 cars parked together, both with no license plate, dealer plates, which they do a lot in patterns of 2s and 3s. And of course the entire lot right now in this rural spot by Thousand Oaks Mall, all the cars are parked normal. They all have normal plates except 2 cars here, a red pickup with a hammer plate, and this looks like a black CRV with a Thousand Oaks Auto Mall plate together, showing that the patterns of behaviors are people that show up and park their cars together. For example, I might go into a parking lot and you'll notice there's pairs of cars in twos parked backwards all over the lot. Well, what's going on is one guy says, okay, that guy parked backwards, so I'm gonna park next to him backwards, and I'm all doing this based on Kevin Perlman, obviously in case Kevin Perlman ever veers out this direction, right? But anyways, so yeah, so the black girl, I kiss her, Devo comes in, they sing Whip It Good and probably a few other songs. For some reason, everyone's told I hate black women at that point. They start hinting about music the rest of my life for some reason, hinting that I conform to music and media. So much so that Tom Farley goes out when I'm a little older, and he goes on what he calls a grunion run, and egg mobs a kid, Eric Johnson, he doesn't like, and then hits him in the back of the head, and he gets everyone on the middle school bus to egg mob Eric Johnson, which he called grunion for some reason, and wanted to go on his grunion runs, and then of course pinned it on me. So we have all these random, and then Tom Farley was basically standing on the horse trail by his house throwing eggs at cars, whatever, you know. In the end, that's all kid shit, but when you find out the reason he's doing it is to pin it on his friend, which links into something huge, that's where things really get spooky. So, while this event this was actually in 8th grade, Tom Farley goes on this grunion run. He gets everyone on the middle school bus to chase after Eric Johnson and egg mob him, which seems to correlate, ironically, with this egg incident in Sunny Skies Day Camp, which is, God, I don't even know, 3rd grade or something, when they moved me back. They moved me back in between grades, something like 1st and 2nd. They moved me in between something called T1, and it was at the Sunny Skies Day Camp. And so my father, within the last 5 years, is running around with Officer Sean Denson, the police, stating that I'm somehow angry at him about them moving me back to this T1 class, which I never even thought about or mentioned a thing. But then that's consistent with my family and these mass groups. I say absolutely nothing, and they come up with these crazy theories based on thin air and give it out to the world and rile the masses against me. So once again, why is the world being notified of my family's theories? Well, that's about hate, rage, control, because people just don't do that unless they want to turn people against someone. So, anyways, the egg mobbing to Eric Johnson seems to correlate to this egg that broke with a bloody chicken in it while trying to cook something in one of these classes, little specialized classes, which was really on a canyony road on a little farmish land, special school, whatever. And so, which actually moved me behind Tom Farley one year, which probably is a good thing now that I think about it, even though the guy spent 30 years stalking me. Needless to say, about maybe 4 years ago, black groups of people were following me to Starbucks, and I was riding my bicycle home one night, and they pulled up with eggs, egging me. So you can start to, by being constantly harassed by black people, them running around saying that we're trying to find out if you hate black people, as if your private thoughts, even though I don't hate black people, I love all cultures and mix with everyone, but the point is that generally people... Okay, so this camera is just a complete nightmare. Luckily, I've ordered a new camera. Should be here tomorrow. This thing it cuts off. If the sensor is cold, it looks like it goes 30 minutes, but then I think when it warms up, it croaks a lot sooner. So this time it was 19 minutes. So I don't know when this thing's gonna stop recording, and the way it's designed, I can't see the little blinking light. So anyways, this is a nightmare, but so I'm gonna have to stitch together the bits and pieces and figure out where I get cut off. I was talking about the egg mobbing, the black community following me from place to place, trying to get confessions that I hate black people, and then for some strange reason doing whatever it takes to try to get any dirt possible to make their lies look true, which is not concern. Concern is whatever, I'm concerned, I don't like that guy, whatever. Not, I'm gonna follow this guy from place to place trying to prove that he doesn't like black people, because when people that don't like you believe something, first, they're gonna make it come true in their own minds eventually. But second, and that's why if you don't like someone, you stay away from them, not try to get them in your life, and things that have been done to me my whole life from person to person. But anyways, showing that it's a witch hunt, right? I don't trust you, I don't like you, I think you hate black people, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life trying to prove it, although these accusations aren't just about black people, they're about every race, with my family and the police and these mass groups labeling me after kissing that black girl as a white supremacist, which is very strange, and things that I will talk about later, the reasons why. Anyways, I was talking about people's beliefs, I think, before the camera puked, and that people have the right to believe what the hell they want to believe. They have the right to, you know, as weird as it sounds to me, not like black people or other races, or I hear people say things like, whatever, I hear my father always makes gay jokes, which is weird to me, because it shows his insecurity, but it's not something that he's going to be hunted by worldwide support over, right? Like he'll make sort of, whatever, he'll call gay people like fagulas or weird things like that. I don't know what the hell, right? And I just go like, you know, okay, so he's insecure, right? He can't deal with change or difference, and he's a perfect square that everything has to be perfectly spelled out, and, you know, whatever. You know, that's, to me, old school, and it doesn't mean that he should be hunted and killed and you know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, my point was that, you know, people do not like other people or not like cultures or whatever, and provided that they keep it to themselves and not make a scene, and if, you know, if they're the nicest person known to man but disagree with other religions or cultures or whatever, so be it. It's harmless. And my philosophy on life is that people generally can believe and do whatever the hell they want, and that's between them and God, provided they're not hurting anyone. And so, whatever, for someone to believe that Scientology is true and believe in Xenu the alien as their God and Savior, and have little statues of Xenu in front of their house or whatever, as weird as it is, so what, so be it, who cares? You can say the person's weird, but the moment you start hunting the guy down, trying to exterminate him, saying he's different, now you got a problem. Now we're back to Adolf Hitler or slavery, right? And so, just because someone has different beliefs doesn't mean one's better or worse than the other, right? You're going to believe what you're going to believe, you're going to do what you're going to do. Some people are gay, some people are into swinger groups, some people are into orgies, some people are into one-to-one only missionary sex, whatever. To each their own, nobody's getting hurt. Okay, so why is Kevin Perlman being hunted with labels that you're different and weird things like this? Doesn't make sense, because we've been past that for about well, hundreds of years, 100 years after slavery, and yeah, there was still the Martin Luther King era, which is good that segregation is now no longer there and everything is more based on equal rights. Even to notice that this year, I think it was, that bathrooms are now the same bathroom for both sexes in the public facilities, which is cool. I think it's great. That's the way it should be, right? But anyways, so yeah, so all these things that are being done to me are coming from nowhere, right? They're just, someone will make up some crazy lie and they'll just keep spreading it with unimaginable money, time, energy, resources to the world, which doesn't make sense. Something that is done in politics, which they call smear campaigns, usually, where one politician is so corrupt that he wants to win that he will go for the jugular and try to find any dirt against the other guy, and that'll be on TV and the news or whatever. But what's being done to me is based on systematic terror operations of propaganda and terror systems built against me since early childhood, and lie after lie on a daily basis is disseminated worldwide to the masses to accomplish riling the world against me in mass chaos, to just completely rid me of the world by trying to either keep creating nervous breakdowns, or people constantly provoking me all day and night worldwide, trying to get those reactions with the police and government to remove me from society. Now, I've never heard of a situation, even if someone actively shows that they're a racist, of this occurring, yet alone someone like me that is the nicest person known to man and helping everyone in their path, with black people following me around or other races following me around saying, well, I think you might have a problem with our race, so therefore we're going to hunt you. But you haven't done anything, right? That doesn't really make any sense. And this whole notion of pre-crime and Kevin could be this and he could do that have been applied to me since 5 years old. I could be the next Unabomber. I could be full of anger and rage and kill someone. I could have lack of self-control. I could do this. I could go out and commit a crime. Well, last I checked, that's any living thing. Whether it's human, an animal, or anything, anyone could do these things, right? Hence, why we have constitutional rights and protections and things like probable cause and enough evidence and discovery in our judicial system to arrest people based on criminal acts. In other words, first the police have to have probable cause that a crime is committed in order to investigate it. And if there's enough probable cause, they have to get the proper amount of proof and evidence before ever arresting that person. And after that arrest, still does not mean the person is guilty, because that's why we have court systems to prove guilt in a court of law beyond any reasonable doubt, to protect people from just being hunted from some insecure, scared nut job. By the way, I just took a picture of a red Eclipse parked backwards with another car with it backwards, which this car is an Eclipse, the black Eclipse, and most of this lot is forward. But this Eclipse with the other car is backwards, and he's parked to another red car. He's a red Eclipse, same year as mine, convertible also. park next to a red car, and the other white car next to it is backwards. And I do a whole bunch of things with red cars, but showing that, like right now I'm driving through a lot and all the cars in this local spot are all forward and 2 cars are backwards. And probably, let's just throw a number, out of 4,000 cars, 2 of them are together or backwards, showing what? Showing that people are conspiring together to send these messages. And this isn't a one-time thing, this is all over the place, and especially the places I go on a regular basis. Okay, so anyways, my point is the point that everyone basically learns in high school in the United States, is that the judicial system is based on putting criminals in jail and keeping the good people on the street to support capitalism, make money, and for economy and communities to thrive. And therefore, things like, I don't trust that guy, so we're going to exert billions of dollars in pre-crime, are way beyond any levels of breaking the law and violating constitutional rights. And so, what's been done in my life, every single constitution has been broken. The First Amendment for sure, freedom of speech. The minute I found out what's going on, you do not say anything or you're a dead man. With the police and with worldwide support. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Well, all these things are going on with my father and guns. Why? I don't know, except I'm just assuming he's going to use any piece of leverage to try to rid me of the world, hence paying off Victoria Walker at 30 years old to give me the toy gun in front of him at my 30th birthday, so that he could work with the police to try to make it look like I'm crazy and arrest me, using me with a picture of the toy gun and my model shoots with the toy gun in the privacy of my own home, trying to make it look like I'm a violent, paranoid schizo and a crazy man and doing reckless, out of control things which are completely within the norm of mainstream society, even to the point where I posted like thousands of pictures of people holding real guns on through Google searches, showing that these guys aren't being hunted by the LAPD, police, and government for holding AR-16s or 15s or whatever they are outside with gun permits or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So a toy gun in the privacy of your own home, and you're being hunted by worldwide support in model shoot pictures, no less, where everyone knows there's billions of pictures of hot girls holding guns, right? Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, yeah, I know I've spent 20 minutes kind of veering past the 8th grade incident I was going to talk about, but my point is that in the beginning videos is that these are such complex situations that people can't grasp it or don't want to deal with what's going on. Therefore, the specific details of these interlinking events, which are all related and connected to the whole ball of wax, need to be discussed, solidifying the foundation of the bigger picture. And so I was on the Second Amendment. They've also violated excessive force, trying to get in my house without warrants, excessive punishment, throwing a maximum security prison, which was for a 5-day remand, for all these shady, illegal things going on in the courts. But they left off the record where they put me to try to make it look like they kind of held me at Van Nuys for 5 days, which was really Pitch's Wayside in the maximum security wing, in solitary confinement for the first 8 days because I told them that I didn't want to roll with power and I accept everyone and I refuse to make a choice, some kind of racial choice of which racial group I wanted to hang out with, therefore throwing me in the hole for 8 days, the solitary confinement. You get the idea, and that was all based on trying to thug and scare me quiet and get my website off the internet and things like this. So, so I'll stop with all the ranting and go back to 8th grade. What I was going to originally talk about was Christy Reynolds. But I wanted you to have an understanding of the types of things that are all connected, interrelated, and apply to the same type of, I guess you could say, theorem of how these people operate from thing to thing and person to person. So 8th grade, everyone, I don't want to say they want to know about 8th grade because nobody's ever directly asked anything, and it's just been 20 to 40 years of hinted messages of guilt to try to get these coerced false confessions, right? But of course, nothing's ever asked. So, Christy Reynolds, 8th grade. I'm in, I think it's an English class. I'm not sure how old I would be in 8th grade. You guys would have to do the math. What is that, 12 years old maybe? And so, hold on, let me just check, make sure this thing's still recording. Yeah. Okay, so I'm in 8th grade, English, I think. Teacher's name is Miss Vaughn. Miss Vaughn. So I'm in this class, and while I will, and as embarrassing as it is, when I was young, I used to have this thing where I would kind of, I've always been very shy. I grew up extremely shy, quiet, introverted. No, these are not crimes and they do not scare people normally, unless they're trying to pitch a whole bunch of bullshit drama and gossip. But I was very shy, never been aggressive with the women, had strengths in other areas, whatever. But there was this girl I was attracted to named Christy Reynolds. And so I couldn't keep my eyes off her, and I kept kind of looking up at her, not staring, because I know that my family's going around saying I'm giving mean, threatening stares to people and women, trying to thug and intimidate them, which is pretty damn strange. But, you know, I couldn't keep my eyes off her, and I kept looking at her. And finally, she came up to me and she asked me, Kevin, why do you keep staring at me? And well, you know, I'm a, I don't know, 12-year-old kid who's shy, quiet, introverted, and afraid to tell her that I liked her. And so that was that. I don't think I really answered much of anything because I just felt a little intimidated or scared or whatever. But after that, my mother, family, psychology community was running around saying that I'm a thug and a bully, and that I gave her a death stare. Okay? So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about something going from some insignificant, tiny little imperfection, which, yeah, I will agree is a little, kind of a little weird, but not the weirdest thing in the world. I mean, there are a lot of guys that think chicks are attracted and can't keep their eyes off of them, whatever. You know, it's like that line in that movie, I don't remember, whatever, where he says cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because the guy kept checking out the other guy, which he thought he was checking. Okay, so I'm checking out Christy Reynolds. She, I can understand, is probably feeling a little strange. She wants to know why I'm checking her out, although most people should have enough common sense to know that guys check out girls because they're attracted to them. This was a little more repetitive than that, a little strange, but not the end of the world. Okay, so here's the event. That's the one of these events. Now, how does this go from I'm checking out a girl, shy and quiet, and a little obsessively, to Kevin's a serial killer with worldwide support to exterminate me no matter how friendly I am to people, my entire life, which I'm now 46 and it's still going on? Well, these are the real questions. These are the questions that need to be talked about. Because if this was such a big deal, right? I'm checking out Christy Reynolds. It's the end-all, be-all of big deals. In 46 years, or from that point, maybe that's more like 35 years, I'm not sure. Why has nothing been directly said about this? Anyone. I am known worldwide. The entire planet has been told that I have tried to thug, bully, intimidate, and whatever. Intimidate, scare, thug, bully by checking out some girl and thinking she's attractive in a little weird way. And there's a worldwide operation with billions of government dollars to exterminate me, but yet not one person on the planet, including anyone in the psychology community that I've talked to, can even have a direct conversation about this event. Why? What is the reason? The same reason Mike Huntley and my own father told me I'm not allowed to defend myself. Okay, so we're back to what I said before. This is not about concern. Concerned people don't hunt down and exterminate people. Concerned people ask questions and want to get to the bottom of things, right? Okay, and this isn't a big deal. It's something harmless, and it's 40 years ago, right? Who would care? And why does the world need to know, right? Well, I've answered that question before, because this is really about a paranoid psychotic family with hate rage issues that just want their son rid of the world. And that is very strange to me, but that is the case. Okay, so now, what I've given you is the normal part, aside from the worldwide turning the world against me. Now, let's talk about the weird, strange, illegal government operations. Okay? So I check out Christy Reynolds, and instantly Tom Farley, who is now in a grade ahead of me, which originally we started off in the same grade. I was moved back to T1. Tom Farley probably came in my life around 8 years old. We both lived in Hidden Hills. He lived close by, but clearly Tom Farley was approached at a young age and told things about me, and he had ulterior motives to remove me from society. So Tom Farley, right after this, by the way, I was going to A.E. Wright Middle School in I guess that's Calabasas area, I think. 8th grade. Tom Farley, immediately after that, becomes friends with this really good-looking girl named Tracy Picos. Okay, well, obviously at the time, I'm not thinking about them trying to send me hidden messages or references. I'm just thinking, oh well, I'm friends with Tom Farley, and he knows he met this girl, and he's sort of showing her off to me, whatever, right? But it turns out there was reason behind their madness. The reason they chose Tracy Picos was the same reason they're using my last name against me, Perlman. The same reason they sent Mike Huntley after me hinting that he's hunting me down. The same reason they sent Aubrey Fisher after me, fishing for information, was to send me reference messages to try to create schizophrenia or make it look like I'm a violent, paranoid schizophrenic. So, Tom Farley meets Tracy Pecos, hinting about me peeking at Christy Reynolds, and they become friends, and it's all about sending me hidden messages and things like this. Okay? I never even could imagine they were doing that. I never picked up on it until this is so far out of control worldwide. Maybe putting the pieces together at 28 years or 38 years old. Done in every movie. Who knows? Probably 60% of movies, music, media out there. Okay, so we have Christy Reynolds, we have Tracy Pecos, we have Tom Farley, who is also heavily in this Kevin hates black people thing. Meeting a girl, Hope, trying to make it look like I was harassing her. You name it. Oh, and Hope was black, of course, and he probably chose Hope, even though he supposedly married her and had kids, but he probably chose her. This is how sick and demented this is. He probably chose her because she was black to try to work on me with some schizo angle, and then meet some girl he likes and marry her and have kids. Is beyond any level of demented in my book. But anyways, so while Tom Farley has been interlinked with following me from place to place and trying to send me schizophrenia messages for my entire life, 30 years, endless setup attempts, endless frame jobs. This is just one of them that I trace back to the beginning. So Tom Farley, Tracy Pecos. That is the time, right around the time that I bumped into Paul Humphrey as well, but there's something freaky going on with Paul Humphrey because I did bump into him. He was a grade below mine. I can remember being in PE class and joking with Paul Humphrey in the gym locker room, sniffing my socks, being sarcastically joking like, oh, what a great smell, you know, which he thought was really strange, showing absolutely no sense of humor at all. And Paul Humphrey came into my life, back into my life. We were never friends back then in 8th grade, but he came back into my life. I think when I was in 10th grade at Calabasas High, and I could tell that he was told to sort of weasel his way into my life, especially with him being Joe Humphrey's younger brother, who was friends with my brother, sort of friends with my brother, and in my brother's grade. But that's something I'll get back to later, because Paul Humphrey and Mike Huntley were working on me for something like 25 years, stalking me, working together. Around the same time, which is interesting, another person sent after me was a person whose name is Brian Weaver. And at the same exact time, we have Tom Farley working on me with Tracy Pecos. But then Brian Weaver is approached. And Brian Weaver is told to bully a kid named Brian Hearsh. Now, ironically, Hearsh, obviously, like Hershey's Kiss and chocolate, most likely apply to black women, suggestive hints about black women, trying to hint that I bully and hate black women once again. But Brian is told to somewhat kind of bully Ryan Hearsh. You know, not bad, not in a horrible way, not that movie bullying where every day the kid's afraid to go out to lunch. But Brian Weaver exerted some bullying behaviors to Ryan Hearsh, and hold on a sec. I can't tell. Well, Ryan Hearsh basically, or Brian Weaver, started bullying Ryan Hearsh, which happens in high school once in a while, or middle school once in a while. Not the end of the world, you know, didn't put any kids in hospitals, or never even actually saw a physical cut on the kid. But Brian, being the bully he was bullying Ryan Hearsh. And then, of course, they all got together and pinned it on me and told everyone that I was bullying Ryan Hearsh. And while it's fairly vague, I can remember being called into the principal's office and being asked about bullying Ryan Hearsh. And I'm sure I told him I didn't do a damn thing. And that was that. To later find out my family's hunting me for, until now, still 46. So how old was I? 12? And Brian Weaver's framing me and setting me up with Ryan Hearsh. And I turned 30. My father's mad at me at, what is that, 28 years? I don't know. I don't even want to do the math. But 20 years later, my father's mad at me for a 12-year-old who supposedly bullied a kid in middle school, is hunting his kid down at 30 years old. Even if I did bully Ryan Hearsh, who would care? Because it wasn't, what Brian Weaver did wasn't really that bad. He didn't ruin the kid's life or terrorize the kid his entire middle school, or this was like a one-day thing. And even if I did, it would be a big deal, but I didn't. And once again, what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at Tom Farley on his Grunion runs, pinning them on me. We're looking at Brian Weaver, obviously connected events, kind of bullying Ryan Hearsh, being pinned on me. There are all sorts of other things around this time. Richard Grunberg stealing the Woodman's skateboards, pinning it on me. What else? I mean, these things are endless, but anyways, so now these are some normal middle school situations that I'm sure happen to 30% of the world, probably a lot higher. But yet Kevin Perlman's being hunted for these insignificant, harmless things that nobody could normally care about. Now, where things really get sketchy and freaky is my father befriends a lawyer named Ryan Golds. And ironically, my father named his company Golden State Sports Medical. So my father has this big weird thing with gold and all these freaky things about me and gold, and me getting trophies and awards for the abuse in my life to try to make me look crazy and all sorts of weird craziness. But there was a reason my father hired and became friends with Ryan Golds, and that was to hint about Ryan Hearsh. Once again, the paranoid schizophrenia tactics that try to turn me into a violent paranoid schizophrenia. Now you might say that's a stretch, right? I mean, what? Just because they have the same names? Well, yeah, you're right. There are tons of coincidences in life. But what happened was my father, after hiring Ryan Golds for all his dirty work or whatever, the lawyer, then bought a house in Victorville and split it with Ryan Golds. And my father kept inviting me, and there were several different types of schizo things going on for multiple things, but I'll just stick to the Ryan Golds things for right now. For example, the name Victor and Victoria are people that were sent into my life to terrorize me and try to set me up and remove me from society. He bought this lake house in Victorville, and obviously hinting about something about lakes, which I'm not sure what he's trying to suggestively hint about, but obviously his motive is just to make me look crazy and remove me from society. So anyways, the house, or Ryan Gold, was told to terrorize me and take turns on me with his entire family, as my father would invite me up for these weekends at his lake house, right? And once in a while, my father would break in an angry rage, saying things like, "I know what I did," but of course would never be specific. He would never talk specifically about what I've supposedly done. And that also really applies to my mother telling me that my past caught up with me at 29 when I was talking to her on the phone and starting to find out what was going on and hinting that I have to leave the country, which I think she was hinting about the Alexandra Cohen things that my brother and friends were doing to her, one of my father's girlfriends, and they were pinning on me, right? So there's another event that things were being done to someone and pinned on me, right? Now, as you can see, that these things that are being pinned on me, I'm being framed for these different things, are coming from different people. They're coming from different entities, right? So what does that say? It says that there is a line of communication with mass groups conspiring together, and these groups obviously were much smaller before the internet days, but they were all told, given packaged behaviors to keep doing to me to get what they wanted. And this one packaged behavior is to go out and do these things to people and say that Kevin Perlman did them. And then to later on send me idea of reference messages of guilt to try to guilt me to death about other people's things, right? So why would someone do that? Think about that. And think about that from the psychology community, because this is, from what I'm talking about, are things that are strategically designed to mentally torture someone. These aren't normal things. They are strategic, they are systematic, they are premeditated, they are thought out from start to finish. Someone goes out, they do something wrong, it's not the worst thing in the world, they pin it on the other person spends the rest of his life watching mass groups hint about you did this and you did that, but nothing's ever directly said, so you can't defend yourself saying, I didn't do that, that was this person, to try to cause emotional and endless psychological pain to drive someone insane, right? To intentionally try to create obsessional looping, to... Shit. Hold on. I gotta check the battery again. Or see if it's still recording. Yeah, it is. Okay. To intentionally and strategically, with the psychology community, create paranoia, create obsessional looping, create anger, create depression, make someone upset, and constantly impede on someone's life so they can't focus. Okay, so these things are obviously being done to impede on my life, stopping me from living my life and focusing me on things that people don't normally focus on to create what appears to be mental illness. But it is not mental illness. It is continual mass abuse by masses worldwide, told to basically guilt you to death with reference messages. And these types of tactics are literally in the thousands, right? So you're saying, okay, that's demented. Your family and police and government tell Brian Weaver, which was involved in shitloads of more things, trust me, to pretend to bully this kid or bully this kid and then pin it on Kevin, and the rest of your life mass groups hint that you bullied a kid at 12 years old named Ryan Hearsh one day, and there's a worldwide campaign to remove you from society because you're labeled as a bully, which doesn't make any sense. And not only that, but because Ryan Golds is an attorney, he contacts worldwide attorneys telling them never to help you your entire life on any situation, which isn't even the same person as Ryan Hearsh, right? Which suggestively hints about Hearsh and chocolate, linking back to sparking your thoughts about black people, right? Are strategic tactics to race and spin someone's mind, okay? Now I can assure you and that I know for a fact that I'm not reading into things, and that these things are strategically done all day and night. And some of the things are a lot more obvious. For example, I mentioned earlier, around my house or wherever I go, if I'm there for a long enough time, cars parked in twos. Example, 2 red Civics, 2 1966 Lincoln Continentals together on my street after Mike Huntley telling me we should buy a Lincoln Continental. Impossible coincidence. But not only that, not just the patterns of twos, but using the names of cars to send suggestive messages. So for example, I earlier mentioned a Toyota Camry, which is actually what was done to me over and over. So for example, I love photography. I grab my camera, I go out to the beach, I do maybe a photo shoot of whatever, a sunset photo shoot. I come back, there's 2 Toyota Camrys parked together in front of the gate where I walk in my house. Now why this time did they use Toyota Camrys? Oh gee, I wonder. Guy grabs his camera, he goes out, he shoots some photography, he comes back, there's Toyota Camrys to hint about Camry camera, to try to flip my mind into looking at the car names to try to create schizophrenia, right? Well, this wasn't a one-time coincidence of 2 identical cars in my house, in front of my gate, being Toyota Camrys. This happened continually every time I went out on photo shoots. And things were happening in the areas, the random areas that I was doing photo shoots with mass groups, okay? So, and some days, there'll be no Toyota Camrys within 100 yards, and all of a sudden maybe you'll see 10 Toyota Camrys the next day after I go out and it's a photo shoot, right? And this changes from thing to thing. For example, one day I look up auxiliary cord on eBay, and an hour later when I walk outside my house, someone's parked a car in front of my gate with a license plate frame or a license plate cover that says AUX, AUX. And my computer has been hacked and messed with NSA and government resources since 1994, data mining and collecting information to the masses to try to figure out ways to turn me into a violent paranoid schizo. So, you can see that they're working on me on all angles, from computer hacking, information dissemination, data mining, people parking cars in twos, cryptic mimic messages from one person sequentially after the next worldwide, based on my social network conversations, or even conversations in person with people will be mimicked back to me from person to person my entire life, you name it. And so so you can see how these weird, freaky, intricate, subtle interactions are occurring with worldwide groups to make someone look crazy. So let's see, where was I? I was at Ryan Hearsh, Brian Weaver, and those frame jobs in middle school, which somehow apply to worldwide groups my entire life, that I've given Christy Reynolds death stares and threatened her life from thinking a girl's cute and looking at her too much, to bullying people one day, even though it was Brian Weaver, and my entire life for 30 years after, worldwide groups told to hunt me down because I supposedly bullied a 12-year-old, me being 12 and him being 12 or whatever, on a harmless bullying, not even a real bullying, which wasn't even me. And there's worldwide support that basically says, well, we're never going to forget this, and we're going to hunt you down and kill you, as if these incidences are larger than building an atomic bomb and blowing up 100,000 people in a football stadium. Doesn't make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is someone wants me dead and gone. I was flagged and labeled as a child, and the government, with endless resources and billions of dollars with my family, will do whatever it takes to accomplish this, right? I mean, there are people that have actually committed real crimes, went to jail, got out, some probably even murdered people, and this isn't even coming close to happening in them. So how could you even explain that the guy who supposedly kind of sort of bullied a 12-year-old when he was 12 is being hunted by worldwide support? Doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, so let's see. I'm kind of tired. I've spoken a lot. I've spoken about the interlinking between my father buying this lake house in Victorville with Ryan Golds for the sole purpose to try to guilt me to death and remove me from society, with Ryan Golds somehow pretending to be Ryan Hearsh. What else? Christy Reynolds. You know what? Okay, well, other things that apply. Let's keep it with the Christy Reynolds. Other things apply are, for example, all the Christies on the planet are then told to try to guilt me about Christy Reynolds, right? And this jumps from person to person. For example, all the Kellys will hint about the Kelly Hatch frame jobs, trying to guilt me to death. All the Christies will either pretend that they're like the Christy from 8th grade, or try to guilt me about it and get coerced false confessions. Why? Well, as one girl was sent after me with the police named Skylar Stephanie on IRC in the mid or late 90s, was told to approach me and talk about skull fucking people, later to find out that she was working with the police to skull fuck me and send me messages with the police that they're going to skull fuck me to death and kill me, which seem to be relevant to the situation. So anyways, you get the idea. All these things are very passive aggressive, they're very subliminal, they're very covert, but it's done from one person to the next worldwide with the intent to collapse my brain or get reactions to try to set me up with the police to lock me away in jail or mental institutions, or just get me to kill myself. The definition of gang stalking, except that gang stalking generally occurs with fairly small groups in a local area, and I'm known worldwide, 10 times more known than Donald Trump, with a worldwide murder operation, which is unheard of and never before has happened. And not one person is coming forward and being honest, going, this is beyond any level of insane. This is wrong. It's wrong on all levels. Even if I did give Christy Reynolds some kind of death stare, which is absurd, because my entire life is me being the nicest, kindest person to everyone in my path, taking that one imperfect moment and packaging it out of context, shows what these people are really about. But even if that were the case, who would give a shit, right? 40 years later, oh, when you were 12 years old, you looked at a girl wrong, and so we have worldwide campaigns to rid you of the world because we think you're a serial killer. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody would ever say that. Hence, why everything is in secret. Why nothing is ever directly said. Because there is no argument that makes sense. Any argument that I'm a bad person can be talked about, and in the end, from facts, logic, will make perfect sense that these people are full of shit. And the very act of someone who does something worldwide, in secret, and tells someone that they're never allowed to address the issue, the accusations against them, and that giving them disinformation like my father told me that I don't know how the world works, shows the type of people my family are, the type of lying pieces of crap they are, the types of things they'll say and do to rid their child of the world, and that is pretty much it. Because anyone that's going to accuse someone of something like that, they're going to tell them directly what they're accused of, especially when his life is at stake. So anyways, I think I'm going to cut this video off at this point because I've done a lot of talking, and so I need a break, and probably tomorrow or when I get the new camera, bring you some more information. But like I said before, you can see how one thing connects to the next, and connects to the next, and connects to the next, and from stranger to stranger worldwide, bringing mass groups to work together, given packaged pattern behaviors, and told to do the same things. For example, everyone worldwide told to intentionally park their cars backwards or in twos, or use the names of cars and follow me places, to send me hidden messages, or to do things to people and say it was me, or to try to create situations to frame me to make it look like I'm doing this or that, which I can go to endless types of things with Victoria Walker and Rody Morales and 3 other people taking me to strip clubs from 20 to 30 with all sorts of these frame jobs, trying to make it look like I'm stalking strippers and porn stars. Endless slews of porn stars following me to coffee shops all around the world in hopes that they can make it look like I'm stalking them and won't leave them alone. You name it, it is endless. But I will leave this at that for now. Kind of losing my voice a little, gotta chill out and drink a little water, so I'm ready for round 2 of more discussion. But anyways, I hope this kind of enlightens you to what is being done to my life, and My average oppressor will use the he's crazy, imagining it, he's a violent, paranoid schizo. And I think that with what's on my website and the amount of video of death threats from the police, from people working with the police, I'm a snitch and I better not tell anyone, to it is what it is and I better accept what's being done to my life or it's going to get a lot worse for me. And all these other things showing that these people's concerns aren't for the obvious things going on and being done to me, which are easily provable. They're involved in aiding and abetting mass crimes and have something to hide on a mass scale that involves worldwide groups to end someone's life and kill them. And they don't want that coming out. And this is now a 40-year murder operation with worldwide support, well, escalating to worldwide support. And so they don't want the people that my website, my knowledge incriminates, and these things coming out, like my teacher, Mr. Quigley, in 11th grade telling me to punch another student so he can make it look like I'm a violent, paranoid schizo who assaults people and tries to have me arrested, right? To dirty up my name and discredit me. Anyways, I'll leave it there. And so yeah, so I hope this gives you some more insight. And I understand that it's going from tangent to tangent, but what you need to understand is this is a unheard of situation with worldwide support where all these events all day and night 24/7 are connected with worldwide support to psychologically abuse, torture, and kill someone. So there you go. Until the next blog entry. Alright.